Hi there, I'm Molly,
And I'm Jamie. We're the owners of Hired Hand Software.
and this is Season 6 of our From the Pasture podcast. For more than 15 years, we've been helping breeders promote their pedigree livestock with our easy-to-use, animal management-driven website software.
Each week, we bring you stories from the pasture, breeding philosophies, ranch traditions, cattle knowledge, and conversation with folks using Hired Hand to power their livestock marketing.
So settle in for today's episode of From the Pasture with Hired Hand. Welcome to this episode of From the Pasture with Hired Hand. Today we're traveling up to Soda Springs, Idaho to visit Dirtbag Ranch, where Tony and Monica Rosen are carving out their path as first-generation Texas Longhorn breeders. Soda Springs is known for its phosphate mines, which play a major role in both the community and agriculture. We'll be talking about how that local industry intersects with ranching, what it's like to raise longhorns through Idaho's brutal winters, and why the Rosens are committed to supporting local farmers by buying their hay and grass close to home. We'll also dive into the tools, traditions, and cowboy wisdom that keep their ranch running. You won't want to miss this look at how Dirtbag Ranch is building a program and a lifestyle from the ground up. So why don't you start by telling us the story of how Dirtbag Ranch got its name?
I'm going to let her take this one.
So Dirtbag Ranch came from me, actually. My brothers and I, when we were younger, we used to kind of just hang out in our dad's backyard and do nothing but drink beer and hang out all day. So we called it dirtbagging. And then as we got older and started collecting more animals, we decided to just keep the name it Dirtbag Ranch. So that's kind of where it came from.
Awesome. I have to tell you, when you all contacted us to sign up and, we got your ranch name for the paperwork and everything, we were talking internally as a staff we were just kind of wondering what route you were going to go with it. And I thought for sure the website would be more, I was very pleased that the website was very clean and professional and because I thought maybe you'd go a different route with it and, have some fun videos on there or something. So that's funny.
Well, you never know what might come along.
We're still a little redneck in the background.
So you're both first-generation ranchers, is that right?
Yeah. We both grew up with animals around us, but as far as having our own and doing our own thing, yeah, we're first gens.
So what inspired you to take the leap into Longhorns, and what's been your biggest challenge so far?
Well, so getting into Longhorns, we didn't really plan anything. Actually, my sister had the cows, and she was basically just doing them for food and stuff, kind of keeping her own beef. And then she lives in town, so she had the animals at an uncle's house, and he died. So she didn't really have anything to do with the cows. So she called and said, "Hey, if you want these cows, go get them and do whatever you're going to do with them." So that's how we ended up with them, and we just kind of jumped in, and we've been going ever since. So it's funny because we have just a little patch of ground, and we started putting fences up and doing this and doing that and learning as we go. It's been a little bit of a challenge, probably not as bad as it could have been, but we seem to be making it now.
Did you ever think that you would have a ranch of your own? Or Monica, when you were hanging out with your brothers, was that kind of a dream? Or was there anything that shaped your decision to take those cows from your sister?
So I don't know that it was necessarily a dream, but I've always wanted to have more space and more animals. I've always had dogs and cats and wanted more. I had a pet raccoon once. I've just always wanted more and more space for my kids to run. And so I've lived in the country for a long time. So I just always wanted to put more four-legged things on my ground.
What about you, Tony?
Um, Well, so all of my family outside of my parents, they all farm and ranch. So yeah, it's kind of been something that I wanted to do later in my life is, kind of settle down and have my own things to do. So yeah, well, I could say that it's kind of been a dream.
Well, Soda Springs and the surrounding area is known for phosphate mining. How does that industry connect to your ranching life and the broader ag community around you?
Well, first off, they bag the dirt and sell it. So so now we got to follow up on the branch name.
Yeah.
Um, uh, it really hasn't done too much for us. It's a pretty heavy agricultural area that we're in. But as far as phosphate specifically having much to do with it, I don't notice much other than, we take our great ground and sell it to others throughout the country. That's that's about the only effect that I know of.
Does the soil health, because of the phosphate, seem to impact how ranchers in your area are raising their cattle a little differently than other parts of the nation?
I think so. We have quite a bit more vegetation that's kind of drives cattle as far as like grazing and stuff like that. We don't have a lot of feedlots or like privately, I don't know what you call it, but retained animals. There's a lot of grazing.
Well, when we were preparing for today's podcast, you had mentioned that you enjoy supporting local businesses by buying your grass and your hay, like from locally from nearby farmers. Tell our listeners just a little bit about that.
Um, well, it's kind of an awesome deal because I don't have to grow it. um, I tend to get off a little bit cheaper because I don't have, equipment costs and stuff like that. So I have a good friend here that his forage grasses and hay seem to work well with my cattle and their needs as far as nutrition goes. So it's been working out pretty well. I've bought the same hay and grass from the same person the whole time that we've been doing this now. So that's about all I can say as far as that goes. I do enjoy, that I have somebody local, so it kind of helps me. For one, I don't have to store as much, and two, it's pretty readily available to me.
So, do you do anything with your own grazing strategies then? Like how you said, everything's kind of been a learning curve. Has there been anything with grazing that you figured out with the cattle?
Not so much,
Just that we
really.
don't have enough.
We
Right.
don't have enough. Yeah. So around us is a huge cattle association, and they pretty much have most of the grazing rights locked down. I don't know how it is in other parts of the country, but here they're pretty dependent on the cattle association, and we have not broke into that yet. It is something that we're looking into, but it tends to be a little bit generational as well, so it takes a bit to get into. But hopefully we'll have some different grazing areas that we can try for, different things.
So, ranching in Idaho means that your winters can dip into what, like -40 with really bad wind? Is that right?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It's lots of
how
fun.
sounds about like ours. I know.
Yeah.
Not fun. How do you all prepare your herd and yourselves for that kind of weather?
Um, we've been pretty lucky. We haven't really put a lot into it. The animals seem to take care of themselves pretty well. Our biggest challenge is, keeping what they need as far as like water and stuff like that. You know, it, we could end up outside with chainsaws cutting hay, and water tanks tend to freeze pretty fast. But we've been pretty lucky actually staying on top of that stuff. So um, w- the herd seems to be just fine. They're pretty rigid.
They get really bushy in the winter. They get like extra furry,
They do fur up
and
pretty good.
then they're kind of cute when they get little frosted tips. when it's really cold out.
We don't do any calving in the winter. That's a main thing. I Some of the guys around here, they do all their calving in like January and February, and it's not something I want to do, but um, it works for them. We choose to do our calving in the early summer, late spring, and it's worked out well. They're good and rigid and ready for winter when it comes.
So, have you acquired any animals from down south that you've added to your herd who are maybe going to be going through their first winter or on their way through it now?
Actually, yeah, we did just acquire an animal from um, Randy Murray. Sold us one of his tempter daughters, and she had a calf at side. She seems to be doing pretty well. I worked effortlessly to get her here in time to acclimate, and she seems to be doing good. It doesn't bother her, you know. So
Yet.
yet, yeah, it's not that cold yet. So um, I don't have any worries about her though. I think she'll be just fine
Can you hear coyotes from your ranch?
all the time. We kind of have a coyote of our own though. She keeps them away pretty well.
What about wolves? Have you had any wolf sightings?
I haven't this year, but lots of previous years, there's been wolf sightings uh, like within maybe like 5 mile radius. People have said they've seen wolves.
And is
So
there
Yeah.
anything special you do with the herd or in preparation, knowing that, wildlife might become a concern?
Some of the strongest advocates for the Texas Longhorn breed aren't breeders yet. They're young people who already love these cattle.
For 30 years, the Longhorn Project has given students a chance to raise, care for, and show Texas Longhorns, while also learning agriculture, business, leadership, and responsibility.
It's a program that builds confidence, character, and the next generation of cattlemen and cattlewomen.
As they celebrate 30 years in 2026, learn how you can support their mission or get involved at thelonghornproject.com.
No.
we mostly just leave our red heeler outside, and she doesn't really let anyone come in the yard or
Word.
anything. She's pretty good at
She takes care of stuff pretty well.
thinking she's tough.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your herd and your breeding focus specifically. Being in Idaho, when people see your Longhorns, do you get a lot of comments about them or a lot of questions about them?
Um, yeah, we do. Well, people notice them pretty well. Um, there's actually a guy right down the road from us that also has Longhorns. He's not a registered breeder or anything, but he's got a lot of them out there, and they're just kind of his special herd. But we kind of, I myself, I'm kind of like, well, I have to get something better than him or something more for people to notice, But yeah, they're constantly driving by to look and checking out the horns and wanting to know
Taking
this,
pictures,
taking
asking if they can
pictures.
take pictures with them or if they can pet them.
Yeah, so um, yeah, that's about you know we're kind of a little ways out of town, so
Well, we know folks outside the industry are always drawn to the horns and to the color. Being in the industry, what do you look for in your ideal animals that you're either breeding or adding to your herd?
so in my animals, I just try to get some more color out of them, and the horns. So my animals are mainly kind of older genetics, and I don't have a lot of like giant horn cows and stuff. They're, pretty moderate. And so that's one thing that I want to try to breed for a little bit. And color, I kind of just take what I get. I would like to have more color, um, like larger patches and maybe some brindles. But I think that that's all in my plans for breeding, which they're coming about. It's been kind of a slow go. couldn't just run out and buy whatever cows I wanted and start making matings, you know what I mean? So I'm getting there and I'm learning what brings what. I kind of want to take the chance to use my older quality genetics with some of the newer genetics to get some of these things that people are noticing more and more. All of our cows are pretty large. They're I like I said, I bought a cow from New Age, and it's a southern cow, and it's what they consider to be a big cow. But when she gets in with my herd, she's one of the smallest. I don't really have too much of a plan for breeding, other than to just buy some, some semen and do a little bit of AI work to get some of the things that we want in our herd, and to grow our herd a little bit too. But that's a space thing as well. So,
Are you going to be doing the AI work on your own, or do you have someone local that has experience with Longhorns?
well, so we're actually pretty lucky because we're not very far from pretty heavy dairy farms. So there are some really good AI people that I've talked to, a few of them. So hopefully we'll get together, in the spring, this coming spring, and get some stuff happening there. I don't know that I'm going to do too much with like embryos right away, but as far just in vitro and stuff like that is what I'm shooting for right now.
Well, I know that a lot of folks keep their breeding strategy and future plans pretty close to their cuff. Sometimes they don't like to talk about it, but you've mentioned that you have what you consider some older genetics and things that you want to add to your herd. Can you just talk a little bit about the bloodlines that you have and maybe a few of the bloodlines that you're looking to bring in?
Sure. So our foundation cows now are they go back to like some El Coyote ranch genetics, and some of the older genetics I've actually seen pop up like around arrowhead cattle and stuff like that. So they were, I don't know how to explain it, but kind of quality cows back in their day. And they just kind of lack some of the stuff that's come about now, as far as like horn size and stuff like that. They've got pretty good color, and they're strong and rigid. So now I guess we'll just kind of start working towards some of the newer bulls that have come along. I was really impressed with like Iron Man, so I kind of want to get into that a little bit. And other than that, I, you know, I, my plan hasn't gone that long yet. So,
If you had to pick out a favorite cow and a favorite bull from your own herd, who would they be and who do they go back to?
um, well, I'm going to pick my new cow, which is she's a tempter daughter, and she's probably my favorite. I have another one that she's given me really good calves, and she's an excellent mother. Her maternal traits are really good. She's a good milker, and her calves are always really strong and rigid and grow the way that I'd like them to.
What's that?
That's Easter.
Oh, yeah. So Easter's my favorite also. And my favorite bull is Easter's first, which is Cookie,
Yeah, Cookie.
because he was our first baby.
She just likes him because he was the first
He was the first. And he's gentle. You can pet him, and he likes loves, and he's cute.
He's a troublemaker. But yeah, so they're heavy in the El Coyote lines.
Who's in charge of naming your animals? Do you get to do that, Monica, or do you have a list to go down? Or
So I prefer to, because usually I think Tony's names are weird. So he's named a couple of them, but most of them I named because I'm like, that's a weird name. We're not doing that. So
do they have their real names, like their registered names, and then their nicknames, or are they in the same?
so they definitely have nicknames. Just like, I mean, all animals, I think, have more than one nickname even. So yeah, they all have registered names, and then there's like a short name or a nickname. Like one of our cows, Honey, we call her Honey, but that's her name is Blondie Moo. But she looks like Honey, so we call her Honey. So it just depends.
She actually has a really defined honeycomb pattern in her solid body. So
Well, and I think a lot of that stuff it isn't. You can't see it when you name them when they're calves. It doesn't come out until they're older, and then they have like a different pattern and color. So
Are you all putting any type of a prefix on the animals that have been born on your ranch? Like, are you adding your initials or your ranch initials before them or anything?
DBR.
yeah, we use DB. But I was a little bit nervous at it at first because there's Diamond B, and I think a lot of their prefixes are DB. So we may use DBR just to kind of designate ourselves rather than getting mixed up in that whole deal, you know?
Running a breeding program takes work. Running your digital world shouldn't.
From websites and animal management to SEO, email blasts, text messages, and even auction support, Hired Hand software handles the tech so you don't have to.
You get one trusted team built for livestock breeders with all your digital chores under one roof.
Visit hiredhandsoftware.com. Your online life just got a whole lot easier. Well, are there any other animals special to you that you haven't talked about yet that you want to mention on today's podcast?
As far as cows go,
Either, yeah. I mean, anything on the ranch is fair game, I feel like.
So we also breed bloodhounds. And so and we have other dogs too, but we have 4 bloodhounds that are part of search and rescue and a breeding program. They're kind of my deal. The cows are more Tony's and I'm more the dog part.
Is there
I get to work in both sides though. So
is there a good market for the dogs locally? Like, do you breed them and train them when you say they're part of search and rescue, or do they go into a program after you breed them, or how does that work?
So I have trained my own dogs that are part of search and rescue. Or I have personally taken them as their handler to train other places. But I'm trying to, I guess, create a market here because there isn't one. So it's kind of like Longhorns. Like there's not a lot of Longhorns in this area and there's not a lot of Bloodhounds. So I've traveled to Arkansas and Missouri and Kansas, Nebraska to get my dogs. So I just wanted to have the opportunity here in the Western states. And it's worked out pretty good. Like the dogs that I've bred so far, people have said like, oh, it's so nice for them to be so close to us and to be able to get one and not have to pay transportation across the country or travel. So
Who's your most well-known bloodhound that you've bred?
May is my most well-known bloodhound, and I did not breed her, but she was my first bloodhound, and she is my search and rescue superstar. She's been on the news. She's been in the newspaper for finding a lost child a couple years ago.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That has to be very rewarding work for sure.
they'll be going onto our website here soon too. So
Yeah.
there's a few technicalities to figure out, and then Angie will take good care of that for us, I think.
Awesome.
So,
We'll look forward to seeing them on there.
yeah. And that Angie, she's the best because we're not the most organized people or the fastest at getting stuff. And her patience level is phenomenal.
Well, that's good to hear.
We have a lot of bulls that we want to, I want to try and do something with. Marketing is a huge animal that I am not very good at. So we need to get into doing some stuff with that and this and that, and clearing some of our bulls out because The one bull that we use is he's done. We can't use him anymore. So uh, yeah, it's time to get on it and get going with some new stuff.
Well, maybe we'll have to do a follow-up segment once you get that all figured out and you can tell us how it went.
Well, that's part of my plan, Molly, is I've trapped you in now, so we have to have repeats.
Like it. Well, a few other things that you mentioned when we were preparing for today's recording is that you listed your PNC cattle pen as one of your favorite ranch tools. Why is that piece of equipment such a game changer for you? When did you get it? How has it changed your daily work? Just tell us all about it.
Well, so, when these cows just came along, we were like, what are we going to do? How do we handle these? This and that. And I came up with an idea to just go and buy a regular chute, which never got used. It's pretty hard to get these things into just whatever. So failure after failure on that. Finally, the PNC came, and it was kind of a huge deal. So I did not get to buy a whole system. I just got to get the cage, which I have spent the summer building a system. And now we can work cows and, like I want to do AI work and stuff like that. So I have the tools now because of that pen to do what I need to do. So it's kind of a game changer for us. And doctoring, and my personal safety is dependent on it. Our cows aren't that rambunctious, so we don't have a lot of renegades running around, but still, you can't push them where they don't want to go. It's a pretty important piece.
Well, you also mentioned that boots are your go-to ranch wear. Any memorable pair that's been through it all, or?
We were talking about this earlier. I actually have the same boots that I picked the cows up in, and I still wear them. So, um, Monica, she's got stories, I'm sure, of all the boots and the
There's a
boot
lot of
tricks.
boots. So we have like a pile of boots inside every door of our house. I don't know why we need so many pairs of boots. And it's not actually just Tony, it's me, the kids. We all have like muck boots, just regular boots. Like we just have so many pairs of boots, and the ones you're willing to get muddy or you want to step and poop in, or there's boots everywhere, and they are essential. You can't go outside in your sandals. There's been so many times Tony's like, cows are out, come help me. And I'm like wearing Birkenstocks. That just doesn't work out. So you have to have boots.
You both mentioned that spring and summer are your favorite seasons on the ranch. What makes them so special? Because I would imagine they're also maybe the muddiest seasons on the ranch.
Yeah, spring is always muddy, and that's where the muck boots are good. But the summer is just mostly because there's calves, and we love the babies, and then just because it's not snowing or freezing, and you can actually go outside. So and just the work is easier. The chores aren't as grueling. That's how I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I just like spring. Everything's green and coming back to life. It kind of is my payment for making it through the winter. So
Anyone that's lived in a climate like either of ours understands that statement.
oh yeah, it's like living on the frozen tundra here. So it's crazy that we stay, but there's no way we're leaving.
Our
So
family teases that we live in Russia. They're like, well, maybe if you didn't live in Russia.
yeah, we don't get a lot of visitors in the wintertime.
Well, what tradition or values do you hope to carry forward as you continue to grow Dirtbag Ranch?
Just hard work and reward.
Yeah. So it's kind of funny. All of our kids are older and grown and moved out, and they kind of missed being on the ranch. But we were blessed with a kid that's 7
Right.
now,
Almost 8.
almost 8, and he is a huge help and very interested in what we got going on. So it kind of it's pretty cool to me that he's probably going to carry on what we're doing. I hope that he will. So the other kids, it's late for them. They've already got their paths in life. So it's pretty cool that he's around to kind of carry something on. I wasn't really planning a legacy, but it's working out with him. So
It's very cool. Well, in our pre-recording questionnaire, we asked you one of your favorite quotes, and this is the part where we're gonna have a little fun, I think. So your favorite quote was, "If you're gonna be dumb, you got to be tough."
yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what that means to you in the day-to-day life of being a rancher.
Well, so
There's a lot of mistakes.
it's something that I've been told by 100 people every time that I complain about something. That's the answer I get. So every time that I have a problem with cows, I just think back at that. I'm dumb, but I'm tough. It
So
keeps me from complaining because I don't like to tell myself that.
So when you all sent that through, I had to Google its origin. So that phrase, I guess, comes from a Roger Allen Wade song, which became that song became famous in the Jackass movies because of Johnny
Yeah.
Knoxville. Did you know that?
Yep. I know the song, but I didn't know that that's how it became famous. I have ran cranes my whole life, so I've worked with a lot of workers and stuff like that, and that's their pretty common phrase. So I just picked up on it.
Well, we're going to make a little game of it here. So I'm going to say a statement, and you all are going to tell me if it's dumb or tough. All right? Fixing a fence in -40 wind chill.
Tough.
I'm going to say it's dumb because you should have built it better in the first
Well, you
place.
could have, but sometimes you have to, and you have to be tough.
Chasing cattle in sandals. And I had this one on the list before you said you wore Birkenstocks, Monica.
So that's dumb. And I've done it.
Never had sandals. I've done hay dudes a couple of times, but not sandals.
Buying hay sight unseen.
That is dumb.
Loading a Longhorn that doesn't want to be loaded.
Tough.
Yeah, definitely tough.
Naming your ranch Dirtbag Ranch.
That's tough. That is tough right there.
Yeah. I still stand by the name.
It's funny because I've had reservations about this name, and it's fine for us, in our closed group, and I'm like, oh, what are people going to think? But it usually comes across pretty good. So Ryan Culpepper, I was talking to him, and I mentioned our ranch page for him to look at because I was asking him questions about a cow. And when I told him, he kind of giggled and he goes, "That's funny." So, I don't know how to feel about that sometimes, but I just keep on going. So we're keeping.
I feel like people will remember the name.
They do.
Right? You talked about how marketing is so important. That's just a great piece of marketing.
Right.
Well, let's talk a little bit about beef. So you sell beef directly, right?
Well, that was a goal. We're finding there's some challenges in that. The biggest challenge that I'm having is USDA, and qualified butchers. So I was thinking that it was a really good way to cull cows that I didn't want, which I still believe. But like I said, there's certain challenges that come with it. So it's easy for me to sell local beef, but it's really hard for me to sell outside of my local area. So there's some things that I need to figure out about that. I still want to do a beef program. I would love the opportunity to be in a room with somebody that knew more about it than me. But it's something that's going to carry on. We have, we've done animals and we've had people eat our animals and they were all impressed. They've all liked it. So I haven't gotten any bad feedback or negative, so that's just something that's going to take a little more preparation on our end.
Do you have to do much marketing locally, or do you have folks that anytime you send one to the butcher, they'll take a quarter, a half, a whole, whatever it might be?
Done some marketing.
Yeah,
We've just mostly to get the word out in the beginning.
yeah, and it didn't take off like I wanted it to, but I think that there's something there, So, like I said, that's something that I'm going to continue, and I see that in our future. It's hard when you live in an area where there's so much beef being raised. Um, a lot of people are closed up and they don't want to try, or they like their beef and their wild game, and then to try and get your beef into them it's been tricky.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your website and technology. So, how has having a hired hand website helped to share your story as first generation ranchers and, maybe reach breeders from across the nation or just within Soda Springs?
I think the website's great, but you work with it more than I do. So
Yeah, I'm pretty new and not real versed in the whole electronics thing other than just like my personal Facebook and yelling and screaming at people. So the website is it's awesome to me. It's something that I've wanted for a while. And I haven't quite figured out exactly all of the things that it does, but since I've gotten it, it just like one of the things that's most important to me is quality relationships with my peers. Will say, and it's an excellent front door when I meet somebody new to refer them to it, and then they kind of get an idea of what I'm actually all about. Um, and that's how I want to kind of use my website is to keep that going. So I want to do a lot of work in keeping it fresh and adding what I can and this and that, and using that as my main tool in building relationships with new people.
How much time do each of you spend looking at other Longhorn websites each week?
None, none right there.
I don't
Um,
look at a lot of
Are you
websites.
looking at dog websites?
I do look at dogs. I look at cows like on social media a lot,
Yeah.
but I don't get on a lot of websites.
yeah, when she's scrolling and one strikes her, she's like, "Ooh," and she may look into that, but she doesn't take it upon herself to find things. Um, I spend not as much as I'd like to. I probably spend, oh, I'm going to say about 4, maybe 5 hours a week just looking at cows and thinking, boy, it'd be cool to have that one, or this is the one I want. Or like recently, there's a website that I looked at that has another tempter daughter that looks just like in horn. She looks just like the tempter daughter that we brought home. And I'm like, oh, I got to have that. So um, it just, it's crazy to me the amount of things you can see, especially with hired hand. I love them. The coolest thing about it is I can go to anybody's website. If I find somebody on, say, Facebook that I've never heard of, the first thing I do is I go to their page and I look for a link. If I see that it's a hired hand site, I already know how to navigate that site because they're all pretty much basically set up the same way, and I love that because as soon as I get to the site, I know where to go for my drop down menu, and I can just navigate so well through all of them. I have not come up with one that was like I had to look to find things. It was just all automatically right there. So
Do you
kudos to you because
Thank you.
it works well.
Thank you. Do you have a favorite one or two hired hand websites that you seem to find yourself constantly visiting, coming back to?
I do. You know, I don't know if it's the site or if it's just the name or the animals, but um, like I spend a lot of time on Buxton's and um, the Whistling Longhorn Ranch. A lot of that's because of Facebook. she has always got great pictures, so I'm constantly on her site to see, I say her, I should say them, but Danielle's usually the one that posts all the pictures and everything. So, and Siller, I look at Siller and of course Randy at New Age all the time. I like to see what's changing, what they're moving around. So those are the sites that I frequent the most.
What about Hired Hand Live? Have you participated in any sales online through Hired Hand Live?
I have not yet.
What about you, Monica?
So
Have you secretly bought any cattle he doesn't know about?
she's
No.
holding them out.
Yeah. I have a secret pasture.
That's something that we're going to get into. In fact, your biggest selling feature of your website was how it pays for itself through auctions and stuff. So, um, it's just a matter of logistics for me on time and what am I going to do afterwards? How am I going to make this happen? So, I mean, I'm just a guy with a job, so a lot of times I don't have the time that I need, and it's tough to make schedules work. So I don't. Integrity of it is pretty important to me. So I don't want to get myself in a situation where I hurt that for myself, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Have you all put an animal in one of our monthly sales yet that you get to put one in for being a customer?
No, I have not. I haven't even gotten a chance to see how it all works quite yet. So, and I'm the guy I have to see it 3 or 4 times before I even think that, oh, this is a reality. So, that is my biggest winter plan, is to get familiar with that and how it works and this and that.
Well, it's super easy. We can talk about it off camera here in a little bit when we're done, but I'll fill Monica in and then she can keep you on task with those deadlines.
Yep, that's the way to do it right there. Don't talk to me, talk to her. She totally keeps me on task. So,
Well, looking ahead, what are you most excited about for the next few years for Dirtbag Ranch?
I would say just learning and a little bit of growth, not a lot.
see what I mean?
A little bit.
She keeps me grounded.
I'm cautious. Yeah.
Are you
I
all
would refinance everything.
I'm quality over quantity.
Are you all planning to travel to any events or try any new futurities or sales or anything like that?
Every year we say, next year we're going to that show, or next year we're going to make time for this. And so, yes, it's definitely in the plans. And I want to say 26, we're going to go to something.
It's gonna happen.
It's going to happen. We're
So,
going to get to Texas.
we made plans, or I made plans for the later half of the year to get to the Horn Showcase. And I even told people that I was going, still couldn't get it done. So, we're going to rearrange our schedules and have a lot more time for that kind of stuff. And, like I said, um, I listen to a lot of these podcasts because when I meet people, I don't expect to be sitting in a room one on one with them to hear the information that I hear from them on their podcast. So now it's a point of meeting these people and actually figuring out what we're going to talk about.
Well, I feel like there's never a loss for what to talk about when it comes to Longhorns. That's for sure.
That is for sure. So, and then I get completely mesmerized talking to some people like, wow, they know so much that I just forget everything that I know, which, isn't as much, but I'm learning. I'm picking it up. So,
Well, I know you both kind of still consider yourself newbies, but what advice would you give to someone considering getting into Longhorns or maybe, especially as first generation ranchers like yourselves?
Patience and money.
patience
You
and
need
money.
patience and money.
Yep. So,
I will say that even still, but in the very beginning of Tony's kind of vision for the Longhorns, I was like, you're crazy. And this is like way over your head and too much. And just kind of seeing how some things have matured since we've got a website and since we've, pushed our social media marketing a little bit more. Just some of the things that have come up, people that have called us for, you know, certain things as far as our cows go. I think that I maybe need to step back and say, like, I'm not going to say you were right, but there,
We're careful. We are recording right now.
right?
He'll replay this over and over.
I know I remembered, so I had to step back.
You can keep that in there, though. I don't mind.
But it just takes patience and time, and there have been a lot of critics, people that are wondering what we think we're doing, and we are in an area of big cattle and ranching, and so I think a lot of people might think we're clowns or we're not sure what we're doing, and so it's kind of fun to see when things are happening for us. So I would say just patience and strong will and money.
I say a plan. You should definitely have a plan and research. Just like the PNC shoot. PNC is not the only shoot, of course, but you definitely are not going to get by with just a regular shoot. So, just knowing things like that, because myself, I didn't have any idea. I'm like, oh yeah, I can get that cow in there. They can tilt their head. They get where they need to be. Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. So, and then, I'm going to go to the old adage, quality over quantity. You don't want to end up with a bunch of stuff that you don't want or is not going to do you any good to have. I don't mean to sound like this is all just a big competition because, you still have your own preference and what you like. But it seems to me if you want to move somewhere, or at least the direction that I want to go personally, you really have to have something to go somewhere. Look into that and decide what you actually want to do.
Well, you said you listened to most of our podcasts, so you'll know that I usually end with this. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want our listeners to know about the ranch, about your cattle, anything like that?
I can't think of anything that we haven't talked about. I fumble with a lot of answers, of course. I had this big grand plan of, oh yeah, I'm going to nail this one. But, things run away from me. I get excited and I can't think of names or anything like that. So I think we've talked about everything that I wanted to talk about.
Perfect. Well, thank you both so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for having us. Hopefully people will hear this and look at our stuff.
I'm sure they will. We'll also
That's our goal. So
we'll link everything in the show notes as well, so it's easy to find.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us on From the Pasture with Hired Hand. We hope you enjoyed this visit to Dirtbag Ranch and picked up something new about ranching life, pedigree livestock, and the people behind the cattle. If you liked today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. You can always explore more stories from the pasture by visiting our website or following us on social media. Until next time, remember to appreciate the pastures you roam and the traditions that make them special.